Welcome back, everybody, to the Get Back Guys podcast. We gotta get back. We gotta get the boys back here. Another rousing episode. I think this is episode 20. Ooh, we stuck around for 20 episodes.
No idea.
Yeah, it's because I'm the one who does all the post work.
Thanks.
But anyway, Kyle, Nick, Al, all here. The three back at it again.
Boys!
Let's go!
Boys! Remember, guys, we're on Spotify, YouTube. We do clip outs on YouTube, Apple Podcasts. Remember to like, subscribe, and share over on YouTube. And then give us a follow on the other two platforms. Remember, we're on Instagram and Twitter. Check out all that good stuff. Links around. So let's just get into this, Kyle. It's time for Kyle with the news.
Kyle with the news.
It,
Kyle with the news. Yeah.
Kyle with the news.
Kyle with the news. Kyle with the news. Kyle reads the news.
All right. What are those news topics? Rattle them off quick, and Nick and I we're coming after them.
Well, a bunch of stud wide receivers are coming back into the league. Des Bryant got signed to the Ravens, and Antonio Brown got signed to the Buccaneers.
Whoa.
What do we think about that?
Yeah, Nick, what do you think?
I'm so happy for Des Bryant, to be honest with you. Not that he probably won't make too big of an impact. I think there's a chance he could be a decent kind of red zone kind of guy for them, but just he deserves it. I feel so bad when he tore his Achilles with signing with the Saints, and the Cowboys cut him for a dumb reason. I don't really understand why they cut him. So I'm really hyped for him. Probably not going to move the needle that much. Nothing like Ngakwe getting traded to the Ravens, which is a big
spoilers.
deal.
Bringing up, that'll be next. Anyway, keep going. No, anyway, keep going.
Call the tease, Kyle.
Tease.
There we go.
I think AB is going to be big time. If he plays, I don't think he's going to be that disruptive to their locker room with Bruce Arians. Who was with? I don't think he was with the Steelers when AB was there, but he understands that culture that they used to have. Tom Brady, I don't know what AB is going to do. The only issue is that maybe they get upset. Some of the other receivers get upset because of targets, but it's terrifying. If I doubt he declines that much in his play. We saw it last year when he came in, basically no training camp and played good for the Pats. You can talk in a minute, sir. But I
just want you to be aware.
I think the Bucks, if he's close to what I think he's going to be, I think they have the best offensive weapons in the league by a wide margin, and I think it's terrifying.
Bruce Arians today in an interview in his press conference said Mike Evans does not care about his stats, and he does not care about getting the ball. He cares about winning. Chris Godwin only cares about winning. If Antonio Brown is any different, he's out of here. So the touches, every of that, he has made it very clear, Bruce Arians, that this does not matter in Tampa Bay. Your stats mean nothing to me. I want a championship. And I like that. I like that attitude Bruce has been throwing around. He's going to make a big impact. Isn't Godwin out for 6 to 8 weeks, though?
He just broke a finger. I don't know how long he's going to be out.
It's not that long.
Not that long.
I thought I read something that said he was going out for a while.
Not 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah,
it's basically the rest of the season.
Yeah, we'll fact check this, but for Des Bryant, I hate the Cowboys. I never liked Des. That first year with Dak, when everybody was losing their minds, he was running routes, Des was, and then the O-line broke down, so Dak would sprint out, and Des would come back and catch a sideline pass. It was the same pass every time, all Dak's rookie season. But weirdly enough, I'm kind of happy for him because, I don't know, I felt like he was kind of being blackballed for no reason. He was a good receiver. There was a time I was like, man, at this point, we got 80 injuries. Let's go get Des Bryant. At least he'll, do something for us. But he's going to be slower off an Achilles tear. He usually are. But and he's a little bit older. But it'll be cool to see him back there. He'll be a good compliment because of the name for Brown to get open more, for Hollywood to get out there. So solid pickups.
Yeah, real quick, Godwin is out for week 8, but he could be back as soon as week 9.
I wonder if I just read that seeing
week
week 8 and heard it as
Yeah.
like 8 weeks. I probably just read it backwards in my head. But
And
good.
real quick on Des Bryant, between 2010 and 2017, he was in PFF's grading system. I think he had like one of the highest graded receivers over that 7-year span in the entire NFL. If he's close, like if we're looking at the best case scenario for Des Bryant, if he's 70% of what he was last time we saw him play, that's a huge pickup for the Ravens. I doubt he's that good, or at least right away. But the Bucks, I think AB will be really good right away, and I honestly think they might be the best team in the NFL right now.
Wow, different from 8 weeks ago with your Ravens. Kyle?
It was kind of surprising seeing the Ravens sign Des Bryant, but I am kind of interested to see how that offense is going to look with him included. I think that offense could have used a wideout like pretty badly. I just haven't been impressed with the passing attack this year outside of like him and Mark Andrews on the occasion. So, or him being Lamar Jackson, excuse me. So I'm curious to see how that's going to work out, but it's at least something. It's a good way to get your offense to take it to the next level. Antonio Brown, I'm right there with you guys. Antics aside, hopefully there won't be any for the Buccaneers when it comes to AB, but if it's smooth sailing, they got a great weapon. They're even more dangerous than they were already. This team's going to be loaded. They're easily, we've been saying this for a long time, they're easily playoff contenders, but with AB included, even if Godwin is in or out, depending on how long that takes, that's still pretty terrifying. So, yeah, I think those are both good signings and good returns to the league. Now we just need Josh Gordon to come back to Seattle, and then life's going to be perfect, I think. It'll be wonderful.
Yeah, sure. All right, what's next in the news?
Pretty much it's just going to be all trade talks from here on out because the trade deadline is going to be November 3rd. That's when everything's all done for trading, and that's when is that when week 8 begins, or is that week 9?
That's next week. It's next Tuesday.
Week 9.
Okay, that will be the start of week 9. Okay.
Yep.
So to begin all this trade stuff, the Ravens traded for Yannick Ngakoue. They sent over a 2021 third-round pick and a 2022 conditional fifth-round pick to the Vikings in exchange for Ngakoue, who already got traded previously this year by the Jags to the Vikings. So it was just weird seeing him kind of being passed along, but he went from one of the worst teams in the league to a pretty good team, could be a playoff contender, to a team that's definitely a playoff contender, maybe a Super Bowl contender. So good for him. I think he's also kind of getting paid some money on top of that, and that defense just got a whole lot scarier.
Yeah, I like the move. They got him for a steal.
Yeah.
There's no reason a player of that caliber, who was the Jags are having a hard time trading because they were like, hey, we want more. This guy's that good, that he goes over to the Ravens. The Ravens team is looking better and better. I am all for that because Lamar's on my fantasy team. But great pickup. Wish Philly would have pulled the trigger.
Yeah. Ravens, I thought they were the best team going in the year. I still think they're in the top 4 teams right now. And just talent-wise, that defense is terrifying. The defense was good last year, and they just added 2 of the best players from what used to be great Jacksonville defense in Calais Campbell and now Yannick Ngakoue. Their defense is terrifying. I still see them. It's going to be an interesting game this weekend, them versus the Steelers. But I still see them as the best team in that. Even if they lose that game, I think Ngakoue, is gonna, his impact will probably, you'll start to see it late in the year even more, because it's just another system to another system, so that can be kind of tough. But yeah, look out for the Ravens. And if they're going to ever overcome the Chiefs, it's going to be because that defense is getting a ton of pressure on Patty Mahomes. And so this is the way to do it. So I'm here for it. Great move.
Yeah, I agree with you guys on that. So now we transitioned over to Detroit, where they just traded for Everson Griffin, the defensive end from the Cowboys. He just signed with them, like a few weeks ago, maybe at the start of the year. We were all saying that like this defensive line looks pretty good with him included, and now the Cowboys are a dumpster fire, and they decide to cut their losses and just trade away Griffin to Detroit. And it looks like Detroit only sent a conditional 6th-round pick to get this guy, and Griffin hasn't done anything worth talking about. He might be on the decline. We'll see how it goes with Detroit, but it's a really cheap price to get for Detroit, I think. But at the same time, I feel like Detroit is just a weird limbo team, and don't know if they're thinking this is going to give them the best chance to go into the playoffs, or that's probably is the reason. But or maybe they're just trying to be as good as they can. I don't know. Again, they're just a weird limbo team where the move doesn't really make too much sense to me, but they got him for cheap, and he could be a really good player for them. So
I think
we'll see how that goes.
now the start of the year we were talking. Some people, not to be named, put in our chat with the boys how good that D line looked for the Cowboys, and they also just cut Poe today, cut McCoy, move on from Griffin. Obviously, I mean he signed a little later, but they also cut cornerback Darryl Worley, who's played pretty good for the Raiders last couple of years. I think we'll get more into this, but I like the move for the Lions because that's a good piece regardless. And Matt Patricia's had some good defenses he's coordinated in the past. Will this help move the needle much for Lions? I don't know. Probably not. But the Cowboys feel like they have realized how horrible they actually are and how bad they are. And I think the thought process is tank now. I think you're cutting all these guys. I think you're trying to save some money for next year for Dak when he gets back. And I think they're shipping guys out they don't need. They're letting the young guys play. And it's like, hey, we're in the worst division. If somehow we pull this off, we pull it off. If not, we're bad and we get a high pick. We can go get a good player. We got all this new money. We can sign Dak and go at it again next year. I think they're cutting their losses. They're getting rid of all these vets that they don't need who aren't playing well. So,
yeah, well, if that's true, real quick on the Cowboys, if they are tanking and they want to trade people, then someone that I think Colin Coward mentioned was Amari Cooper could be on the trading block just because if they're trying to get off of money, they've got CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup who they can pay way less money and who are still awesome and kind of get their finances straight. So he's a guy who I doubt gets traded, but if they do want to do a fire sale, he's probably the main offensive guy who would get traded, him or Gallup, depending on which they get a better offer for. But back to the Lions real quick. I mean, I mentioned last week that like looking at the upcoming schedules that they have a really easy schedule, and I think this is them just kind of, and this might be like the regime saying this is, if we don't make the playoffs, we're out of here. The GM's out of here. Matt Patricia's out of here probably if they kind of fall off. But if they can get Everson Griffin, they've got Trey Flowers has actually been pretty productive for them, and they sub Jamie Collins, and so they have some defensive pieces that maybe they can win 3 out of the next 5 or something, put themselves in a position to make the playoffs. Because they could easily be 4-2 right now if DeAndre Swift had caught one pass to beat the Bears in week 1. I wouldn't bet on them making the playoffs at all, but that's my guess is their thought process is we have maybe a chance, easy schedule coming up. Let's see what we can do. If not, we're probably going to get fired.
yeah.
And for the price they paid, it's not risking much.
Nah.
Why not give it a shot, I guess. All right, so the news that excites me the most when it comes to all these trade talks
happened to be last in the news too.
No, it was just a coincidence. All right, is
Kyle,
defensive lineman Carlos Dunlap just got traded to the Seattle Seahawks, which gets me so excited because our line is terrible and we need all the help we can get. And so the Bengals sent us Dunlap, and in exchange we sent a backup center and BJ Finney, who we paid too much money for and is not a starter at all. So see you later, dude. And we gave up a 7th rounder for it as well. So I know that Carlos Dunlap hasn't had many touches. He hasn't had the best stats as compared to previous years. But if he is going to become the starter moving forward, this could be a good chance for our defense to finally be able to light up like I think it really has the potential to, especially with Jamal Adams coming back. Snacks Harrison is also supposed to be in the starting lineup finally. So really what matters is whether our coordinator, Ken Norton, is actually going to make this work. I have very little faith in him at this point, but for the price that we paid to get this dude who could be able to help change our defense, I think it's worth doing, especially when we're trying to get to a Super Bowl right now. So I like the move. but I don't trust Ken Norton and how he runs a defense.
During that Cardinals game, they were talking how bad your D-line is, and boy, are they bad. I mean, Kyler had all day in that game. I mean, Russ actually ended up having quite a bit of time too, but that's nuts. I think Snacks is a good piece. Carlos is going to be a really good piece. They're both a little bit older guys. They're going to add some of that veteran mentality. When getting Jamal back will be huge as well. But I like the trade. Is it getting a Clowney or a JJ Watt and this massive thing where it's like, wow, that moves the needle hard? Probably, I wouldn't say so. But I do think it does move the needle enough to get. I'd be excited as a Hawks fan in the situation you're in. I'm curious to see how it will affect the line, though. You got them stud linebackers. You're about to get a stud DB back. So if these guys can, start getting some good pressure on the QB, it's going to really help those linebackers and cornerbacks. So
tremendously, you nailed it.
Yeah, I think it's huge, actually. I think it is a big-time move, and I think there's a chance that, I thought the Seahawks going into the season were a playoff contender, not a Super Bowl contender, and up until today, I thought that was still true, but thinking about the kind of moves that you've made, adding Dunlap and Snacks Harrison, but you also think about some of the other veterans that you've added. You brought back Kendricks, even though he's, maybe not the most impact player, but he's a guy who can fill a role. Yeah, but he still might see some playing time down the road. Same with someone like, do you still have Demarius Randall, even though he's kind of fallen apart? Another practice squad guy, but they've played a lot of games, and this should help someone like Dunbar, who has kind of had a rough start to the season for as good as he was last year. So, things like this, seeing how much turnover that you guys have put into this defense is pretty impressive. I think there's still a chance that your defense doesn't get playing a ton better, but I think you probably will, and I think just getting up to a decent defense versus as bad as you guys have been so far is going to be big time if you guys are going to be able to stop Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Kyler Murray, Jared Goff, these kind of guys we're going to have to go up against. And, I think it's important. It's things that the Packers didn't do, 10 years ago to sustain, them, Aaron Rodgers' success, and we saw the defense let him down time and time again. I hope that doesn't happen for your mental state, or so you don't go crazy like I have.
It's already so fragile.
But I actually think Dunlap's an incredible player, and I think this could be a big impact play. I think it could move the needle quite a bit. I'm not 100% sold on it, but I think it could.
Yeah, that's about where I am at too. So when talking about other trade possibilities, I have a list of some players that have been in the rumor mill of possibly being traded. I was thinking I could rattle them off. We play a fun game about this, seeing what you guys say real quick, whether you think they will be traded or not be traded. Maybe there's the team you have in mind for them. Who knows? This is a game I'm making up on the fly, so let's have fun with it, huh?
Sure.
Let's go.
I want them all in Philly on a vet minimum deal, traded for a bag of Cheetos and Lay's that Doug P. made it handcrafted himself.
That could happen. All right, so to start off with, we have Will Fuller, who just recently got rumored to be a trade possibility to the Packers.
Let's toss in Kenny Stills, too, because both of them have been talked about.
He was the name I was going to bring up. You're not playing the game right.
Yeah, but there's two Texans. Let's get them over.
Fair enough. All right, Kenny Stills or Will Fuller? What are we thinking?
Nick, they've been talking Packer more than anything. How do you think?
I would love it if they went to the Packers. I would, as long as we don't give up too much for them. I think Will Fuller would be an incredible addition. So I'll go Packers. If I think it's actually kind of unlikely that they deal them, at least Fuller, because they're gonna want a lot in return. But I would love him to come to the Packers. Yeah,
he'd be great opposite Devontae. I know Philly was interested in Stills, which I wouldn't mind Stills. I don't love him in our addition to our team personally right now, but I'd be very happy. There's bigger moves I'd rather make, as one pick higher in a round worth a higher up wide receiver. So I don't know if they'll get moved either. If they are, what is that organization doing to Watson? You just fired the head coach who ran the best wide receiver in football, arguably out of town. And now you're going to get rid of the few weapons he's got left, that's more concerning to me than anything. But
I think they could get rid of one of them. They've got like 4 guys who are the same receiver.
I mean,
They've got
yeah,
Cobb, Cooks, Fuller, and do they still have Kiki Cootie, right, too,
Yeah.
as their fifth guy?
I think he's deep down on their depth chart.
Yeah, so like they have plenty of good receivers. I wouldn't be shocked. I could see him dealing one of them. I would guess it would be Stills over Fuller just because Stills on the last year of his contract and he's probably going to leave them anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Will Fuller would be a really flashy name to have on your offense, but I would just worry about the
His
injuries
durability.
when your wide receivers already kind of suffer from injuries when it comes to the Packers. I think Kenny Stills could be the most likely. He's kind of the bigger name, I would say, and the Texans are probably trying to dump his contract, even though it's the last year. They probably want to get rid of it as fast as possible, get a pick out of it too. That's how I see it going, but we'll see how that goes. Speaking of wide receivers, we also have Golden Tate and AJ Green have been rumored to be possibly traded. Any thoughts about those two?
I've been there, done that with Golden Tate. Honestly, don't care. AJ Green would be interesting. He's always hurt and he's old, but he's still pretty good. Sure.
Yeah,
I don't know where he'd go. New England, maybe?
Yeah, I was going to say New England. It's a place I actually would really like Golden Tate to go to the Packers. I think that'd be an incredible pickup, but we've talked enough about them. Everyone that you're going to bring up, I'm sure I would love to have on the Packers, but I think New England is a place that if they do think, okay, we are 2-4, but our division's not that good. If they beat the Bills this week, I think I could see them making a move like
Bills.
that. So Patriots is definitely a team that I think is in the realm for looking for another type of a playmaker.
Yeah, the Patriots need speed. They need like somebody who can like do something. And AJ Green, I just don't know, still has that kind of.
I think Tate would actually fit.
Dead.
I think Tate would fit well with them though. He's so good after the catch.
Yeah, same here. Well, speaking of the Patriots, there's been some rumblings that Stephon Gilmore, the all-pro cornerback, is going to be possibly traded away. I don't really buy into these rumors too much. Like, I know that this is a thing that Bill Belichick tends to do when it comes to like stud players who he thinks might be on the decline like a year before it happens.
Yeah, he sends them to the Browns.
Yeah, exactly. So this one I don't really buy as much, but I'm also trying to figure out if they're deciding if they should be a team that tanks or if they do think they could at least sneak into the playoffs somehow. And Gilmore is definitely going to be a piece that helps them do that. So I'm not quite sure if I buy into this rumor all that much. And I'm not sure if there's a team that really wants to take on Gilmore's contract and, have that risk of them thinking, well, what if he is on the decline? But not that I think that he is. That could just be a thinking for like GMs or something. So I'm not sure about that one either.
Yeah, I'm going to skip on this one because I'm going to talk about it later in a different segment.
Ooh, all right.
Tease for you.
What about you, Nick?
I also think it's unlikely, and it would be a monumental move, I think, because he's obviously a defensive player of the year, and he plays one of the most important positions out there. I think an interesting kind of idea would be if Matt Patricia really wants to save or just kind of throw all his chips in, he could get an elite cornerback who likes him, unlike Darius Slay, who didn't like him. Or we think maybe Stephon Gilmore is on good terms with Stephon Gilmore with Matt Patricia. That could be kind of a place if they are like, okay, let's make another move. A team I would like to see him on, but this is also for another player that might be mentioned, but the Cardinals, if the Cardinals made a move for him, it'd be incredible. Their secondary all of a sudden with Budda Baker and Patrick Peterson, they might get 8 interceptions on Russell Wilson next time.
Their defense looked good. I hate that you brought that up. A little salty about it still. So I'm going to rattle off the rest of these names. You guys can say yay or nay. Dwayne Haskins, Ryan Kerrigan, J.J. Watt, and Takk McKinley. Who
I don't think
McKinley's
there's
on
much.
The Falcons.
I don't think there's much. There's also been a rumor about Sam Darnold going around, maybe getting traded. I don't really take stock in most of those. GMs are putting that out there because they just want to hear what the calls would be.
Sure.
They just want to hear what people say. If somebody shows up and they're like, you know what, I will give you second round pick for JJ Watt. That's hard to pass up. JJ is still good, but he's old. He's been hurt quite a bit. I don't take much stock in that. Dwayne, I've got no clue. Ryan Kerrigan would be a nice piece for people who need a good linebacker, Philly. But yeah, I don't know. They don't move the needle too much for me.
I think I doubt Dwayne does. Quarterbacks typically don't get dealt that often.
Yeah.
I do think Ryan Kerrigan, there's a chance because he's on the last year of his contract and he's not going to stay there. But also they didn't trade Trent Williams last year at the deadline like we all thought they would. I think who's the Falcons guy again?
Tech McKinley, defensive end, I believe so.
I think
solid.
he could I think it's a good player, and I could see him getting moved. And JJ Watt he's always in these rumors because we just want to see him on a contender. He's been linked to the Packers quite a bit just because he grew up in Wisconsin and is a big Packer fan. So that's a trade that he might, be willing to go through with. I would love it, but I also find that unlikely. I think the Texans are more likely to ship away one of their 4 receivers who are the exact same. But I think it'd be cool. I want more trades at the trade deadline. I think it's more exciting.
Yeah.
And I hope the Packers make a move.
Yeah, JJ Watt, I take very little stock in. He's like a staple to the Texans, whether they're bad or good. Yeah, to that organization and to like the city, the state. So no, I don't think he's gone. I think the most likely out of these could be Tech McKinley. I think teams will want a player with that much upside and him being so young. Dwayne Haskins, I don't see. They'll try and get rid of him, but I don't see that happening. I don't see a team train for him. And Ryan Kerrigan, it could go either way. But again, all rumors. Just wanted you guys' thoughts on that. Then we're going to move on to our next segment, right?
Which I'm calling an audible on, and we're going to do surprises first. Not surprises, excuse me. Over under first, because I'm going to start it because it's a good transition about the New England Patriots.
All right.
Because I've been watching them. Watched this game this last week. I was kind of in with the Nick stock. A big fan of Cam. Were they going to be this bad? There was a lot of talk. Their defense was very good last year. Defense is going to be good, and they're pretty bad. I don't think they're very good. I get there's some chemistry issues, but their defense looked bad to me. I think the rumors are not just Bill. I think they're all playing bad. I think the defense is bad. They lack. I think it was Michael Lombardi. I'm not a huge fan of, but tweeted out that why do you look skeptical, Nick?
I like Michael Lombardi.
He's all right. I think he's got some real boneheaded takes a lot of the time, and he's very New England biased. But I liked his tweet saying they lack speed because that's what I thought watching the game. It's 38-year-old Julian Edelman out there trying to do his best, and Cam obviously is Cam, but he is also 31 years old, 32 years old. They're not exciting. They're not electric. I mean, the fact that Wentz is dropping dimes to John Hightower or Travis Fulgham and looking more exciting and we're bad than the Patriots, I'm going to overreact a little bit probably here. And they look bad to me. And I think they're just a bad team. I don't think there's any secret of Bill hidden right now. I think they're bad. And I think Bill knows it.
I'm starting to be more and more on that same page. I mean, last week I was saying that the offense didn't look anything like. It hasn't been like the most flashiest of offenses in recent years, but even still, it was like on another level. And seeing that twice in a row, and even the defense didn't look that good. I'm sure Belichick can find a way to sneak a wild card in there, but if they miss, like I won't be shocked at all. Like I just don't see it working. And maybe part of it is Cam still overcoming COVID, but I think there's a lot more issues going on than just that.
Yeah, I think I'm just bummed Cam hasn't been playing that good because I'm such a big fan of his. And if he is playing up to his potential, I think they could be a playoff team because I think Cam's that good. But, and I think all of our hopes up when he played so good against the Seahawks. And I guess now it just shows the Seahawks just aren't a very good defense.
No.
And that's why he looks so good.
No.
So I'm not going to I'm not going to rule out that they won't make the playoffs, but it definitely is trending in that direction. And if they do, it's because Cam's pulling some miracle type stuff, probably like he's turning into a great player. If he's not playing, in tip top shape, then they definitely don't have a chance to make the playoffs. And I obviously think the Bills are good, and I think the Dolphins have a really good defense, have some playmakers on offense, and I think they're a real team, and I think they have a real shot at making the postseason. So
see Tua first. I want to see him play.
I'm excited.
Oh, I've seen him.
He's seen the future.
Dominant.
Whoa, you heard it here first. Get back, guys. Time travel.
Tua is dominant.
All right,
according to the Time Traveler. Nick, how about you go? Under. You do it.
Yeah, I think more people should be talking about this, and not just how they performed, but just them as an organization, where they've gone. And I'm going to bring up a team that I've been really high on. I'm going to bring up the Arizona Cardinals. And I'm not going to – the main thing I want to talk about is how impressive it is that they have gotten to this position from where they were at in 2018. We see so many teams. We saw the Jacksonville Jaguars stay with Blake Bortles for years, give him a bad contract when they knew he wasn't good. We see teams stick with bad head coaches, Adam Gase, Matt Patricia, for years. The Cardinals screwed up. They got Josh Rosen, and I can't remember their coach's name, but they got him, first-year head coach. They were terrible. They realized – well, the coach
Steve
before
Wilkes.
that.
Steve Wilkes, sorry.
Steve Wilkes,
yeah. So, and they said,
coach.
You two, we don't think you're good. You're not right for our team. We're going to move off of you, and we're going to make changes until we find it right. And 2 years later, they're 5-2, and they have a legitimate chance to win the division, and probably will be in the playoffs at least. And it shows you how a team like the Jets, team like the Jags, that rebuilding shouldn't take 5 years. That GMs need to realize that when you miss, the best thing to do is move on and go to something real. You made a top 10 pick on Josh Rosen, you missed, but then you hit next year with Kyler Murray. That's got to be the mindset. There's a reason basketball teams will fire their head coach and then all of a sudden become contenders. Happened with Mark Jackson and Steve Kerr. It happened with Dwayne Casey and why am I blanking his name? The Raptors coach, Nick Nurse. You get the right coach, you can get the right system, you get the right players, you can make things happen. The Cardinals did that, and see where they're at now.
The Cardinals, I said it on our show, the Cardinals and the Broncos to me were the two closest teams to doing what Philly did with Wentz in the second year and really taking that step up, building an O-line, building weapons around him to really protect him, a good run game, and bringing some good defensive pieces and the right coaches. And they did the same thing real fast. And the Cardinals win is huge. And I don't mean to throw shade at my buddy here, but
no, it's right.
It is
right.
Huge because they're in the exact same position my division is in. Although your division's very good with wins and ours is very bad with wins. But the same thing is true. If these division games now matter more than any other game of the year, because all those teams are so good, like us, all those teams are so bad. And the Cardinals winning against Seattle shows that this is going to be a tight race down to Week 16. And this game could come back to bite Seattle or really pay off for the Cardinals. Obviously, the second game is going to matter a lot because if Arizona wins that one in Seattle too,
it really depends.
Might be the division.
It really depends on Seattle's next month of football, where you play the Rams twice really quickly. You play the 49ers, and then you play another good team, Eagles.
You play
the Bills.
My God.
Yeah, and so. But also, the Cardinals, another thing that I was just really impressed by, obviously, I'm very high on them. They've had 2 losses to not great teams, but they beat the 49ers before all of their injuries. So they beat the 49ers, a healthy 49ers, the healthiest they're going to be all year, beat them. And they beat the Seattle Seahawks. They have the most impressive wins out of maybe every team in the NFC right now. Definitely the Packers, definitely the Seahawks, definitely the Rams. Like they've gotten wins against 2 great teams. But they do have they are a young team. They lost a couple ones they probably should have won. But the NFC West race, we've talked about it all year. It's going to be interesting. And depending on, the Seattle not winning that game could really shake things up for the 1 seed, because even if they win the division, if they end up losing 4 or 5 games because this division is so close, the Bucks and Packers probably won't lose that many games because their divisions aren't that as good. And the 1 seed's a big deal this year. But enough on that. Cardinals, I'm just impressed on how they were able to turn their franchise around.
It was an
so
awesome
quickly.
game as a non-fan. Awesome game.
Best game of the year so far.
Yeah, it was a fun game. I was watching that
It's a
game.
normal
Like,
game
what's
for the
gonna happen
Seahawks.
next? I was like, a big pick for the Cardinals, and then Kyler throws a pick immediately. I was like, what is going on? This game is nuts.
Just a normal week.
Sadly, I only got to see the end of it. I tuned in right when Tyler Lockett scored the last touchdown.
God, he's so good. I'll get into that
Start
later.
to finish.
But yeah, and then some pretty incredible plays by Russ there at the end of the game.
We'll get into that.
Kyle, what is your over-under this week?
My underreaction is Ron Rivera, because the dude is just finally finishing up like his last bit of chemo treatment. Yeah,
Love Ron Rivera.
He rightfully deserves it. The dude is battling through something just so difficult. I just can't even fathom and begin to imagine like what that experience has been like for him. But despite that, though, he's doing that while at the same time working on rebuilding a team that was crumbling on so many levels. We talked about in the offseason just how much, this Washington organization is just, bad from top to bottom, and he's making it work. I mean, not working in the best ways, and he is in the NFC East where, no offense, Alex, but everyone is not very good. But I think he is.
If we were healthy, but whatever.
But I think his story and what.
Don't you do that.
His story and his leadership is just so inspiring for his players that you just have to give him props. And I think it could be really good, a good direction for this team. Now, I think the ownership still needs to be under someone new. But despite that, though, there's at least leadership and really good leadership with Rivera. So props to him. He deserves more love. I think people gave him like a day when he announced like his last bit of treatment, but he needs like a parade because the dude's just awesome. Like he seems like the best guy, and I give him a lot of props for what he's doing right now.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I don't love the TBDs winning games because Philly, but
Right.
Yeah, I'm happy for him. I've always liked him as a coach. Really glad that him and his family that he's healthy and getting back to it. So
Yeah.
100% agree with all of it.
So let's move into our teams. We'll go to our teams going into this week. How you feeling? Real quick, and then we'll end this show up with some surprises. So, Kyle, we'll start with you. You've been going last lately. How do you feel about your Hawks? Obviously, it was not a fun game for you, but fun for us.
Atlanta's was fun for everyone else.
My games are not fun at all.
Honestly, I know I was saying this while Nick was talking about the Cardinals, but it really was just another week for the Seahawks ever since beginning of last year. Like, we just shoot ourselves in the foot, always come up into these close games when maybe they really shouldn't be. Although I give the Cardinals credit. Like, I think this game was rightfully as close as it was. But, I mean, Russell Wilson, despite, 3 really bad picks that are just unlike what he does, and I think that's not going to happen again. He still was, lining up all over the field. But Tyler Lockett, man, people need to give him more love because what he was doing was unreal. Like, I've been able to see those catches week in and week out, but the dude was on another level. Like, it was just amazing. I love him so much. And same with DK. Like, he didn't see much action, but that chase down with Budda Baker,
that's awesome.
Budda almost had a pick 6, like the entire field. Like, how can you not love that? Like, that was just amazing. I'm still fine with our offense. I'm nervous about our running back depth right now because we're kind of a bit banged up there. Carlos Hyde has like a hamstring injury, and Chris Carson has a foot sprain of some kind. I don't think it's too serious. He might be back in a week, but that kind of makes our depth a little nerve-wracking. But I still trust Russ and Brian Schottenheimer and what they're able to come up with on the offensive side. When it comes to defense, I really hope Carlos Dunlap works. Like I mentioned earlier, having Jamal Adams and Snacks Harrison might also help, but I just don't trust our coordinator. I don't trust Ken Norton as our defensive coordinator. I really wish we got someone else at the start of this season, but we didn't.
Damn, Quinn.
I would have loved it. Like, I know Dan Quinn has, some heat for what he's done as the head coach with Atlanta, but I think he would have been a better choice than, I think he'd be better than Ken Norton anyway. So I think we're just going to have to play this out. It's just going to be like this week in, week out. We just can't make many mistakes. We can't shoot ourselves in the foot. I won't be shocked at all if even with Dunlap, our defense still looks as bad as it does. And I really do think it falls under how Ken Norton organizes his defense, because for all the talent that we're now getting and all of the upcoming talent that we do have on that side of the ball, we shouldn't be looking as bad as we should. I do think it falls under Norton, but we're going to keep rolling with it. I trust in the offense. I still think our defense can make plays when it counts, but just can't keep shooting yourself in the foot. Yeah.
Nick, how do you feel about the Pack?
Sucked.
Same. I think there still goes a big win to win how we did without and to play how we did on offense without David Bakhtiari and without Aaron Jones and Alan Lazard. Big time. Alan Lazard is back at practice this week, so he actually might end up being back sooner than I think we originally thought, which would be a big deal. I still think we're probably a piece away from truly being in the top one or two teams in the NFL because but I still think we are Super Bowl contenders for sure. And I think the thing that needs to be talked about and that people is that Jair Alexander should probably be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. He has been absolutely shut down. He gave no catches up to Will Fuller last week, who had been on a heater coming into the game. Did the same thing with Mike Evans the week before. Shut him down. Every receiver that's come in there who's been playing good has been non-existent when targeting him. He's the highest graded cornerback on PFF with a 90.8 grade. And that's, versus guarding the best receiver on the other team. And I know Michael Thomas didn't play, when we played the Saints and things like that, but he's been incredible. The reason our defense can do what it can is because he's just on another planet right now. I wouldn't say he's in the lead for Defensive Player of the Year. Aaron Donald and Myles Garrett are also just too dominant right now, but he should be talked about as maybe the best defensive back in the entire NFL. Like, that's how good he's playing right now. And so I just want to give some love to Ja because he's been dominant so far.
That's true. That's the truth right there.
Like seeing my fellow get back boys be balling out there and getting them wins. Only know what it's like for 2.5. We talking about some defensive studs. You brought up a man named Aaron Donald. I want to talk about a man named Brandon Graham on Philadelphia. Brandon Graham is right behind every end or D tackle in the league in major stats. He's like third or fourth. I mean, on everything. We're talking sacks, pressures, everything. Brandon Graham is balling, and he is one of the few pieces that is actually balling. I mean, obviously having Fletcher Cox take those double teams is huge. But anyway, playing Dallas this week, Sunday Night Football as of right now, could be flexed out. Hope not, because I got to be driving Sunday morning, so I'd prefer to make it back to be able to watch the game. But I'm excited because I think we can win that game. We got some big pieces back. Dallas Goedert is practicing. Jason Peters is practicing. Which, I wouldn't have been excited 3-4 podcasts ago before he got hurt because Jason Peters was playing horrible for a Hall of Fame left tackle who played great last year at left tackle. But anything is better than one of the 13 rotated practice squad or rookie linemen that have been in, which I will say again and again and again, no quarterback in the league could be good with the injuries we've had on our O-line and the issues they've had. There's not one in the entire league who would be good. Wentz is leading the league in everything: sacks, hurries, hits, by a mile. I mean, by a mile. And it is ridiculous. And so him coming back alone, I know he'll maybe, he can get one less pressure, hurry a game than these guys because they are bad. Some of them have played all right. Jordan Mailata, our rugby guy, has actually weirdly played very, very well at left tackle. So there's rumors we're not even going to put JP back at left tackle. Toss him in at guard at practice today. He did play at left tackle. They moved Mailata to right while Lane Johnson's dealing with an ankle injury. But we got Rager back. Dallas Goddard is back at practice, which is big. Alshon Jeffrey is day-to-day. I don't know what it means, but, man, do I hope they trade him. I am so sick of him. So we're getting somewhat healthy and playing a horrible team. So I'm feeling pretty good. I want to. What?
Next week, just making a joke. Next week, he goes, it's doomed, and everyone else gets injured again.
Next week is going to be a rant. Yeah, I hope not. Our bye is after the Dallas game, which is big because if the Eagles can get kind of healthy and not have any, massive injury happen in the Dallas game, and go into the bye, a little bit on the upside in health to get more guys back, to maybe make a trade at the deadline here, can be big. A bye week can hurt you and it can really help you. And if for some reason we can just figure it out and come off 2 close games and maybe win both of them, if we can win this week, could be really big for the team to get some momentum to hopefully get some crazy upset against one of these great teams we're about to play, because we got to play the 2 of you in the next month, and we got to play the Saints as well as the Giants. So we play the Giants right after the bye, which could be big. Is if we can come out and hit them hard and not make it competitive, we could end up having some momentum moving forward, which I hope. But you just got to win one. Leading the division right now because of that tie by the Bengals. So thank you, Bengals, for tying with us and not beating us. But, yeah, feeling all right. So let's transition into our final segment here. Surprises. Any surprises of the week going into this week you guys want to talk about? Kyle, why don't you start this one off?
The Bills-Jets game. That was weird. Jets were leading by 10 in halftime, and then the Bills pretty much had to make field goals in order to win.
Game.
It was weird. It was a weird game. I only caught the highlights of it, and I still don't understand how that happened. I mean, highlights don't really explain the entirety of the game, obviously, but even still, I'm not sure what was going on there. This does not mean at all that I don't trust Adam Gase now. I still think he's a really bad coach, and they need to get rid of him.
Put the finger up, Kyle. Put the finger up.
I don't trust him
to get him out of there.
He needs to be gone. Heck, if they did win, still needs to be gone anyway. Get rid of him. I don't know. Maybe the Bills were surprised that Gase wasn't the coordinator. It ended up being someone else. Seems like it worked well for the Jets for the most part. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing at this point. I thought it was surprising. I think everyone agrees to that. I don't know how it happened, but it happened. I'm sure the Bills will recover and move on and, squash another team much better than they did with the Jets. So, yeah, I thought that was weird.
Bills are coming off of a bye, and like I just said, a bye can do weird things to you. It can give you the momentum you need. It can kind of hurt you for a bit. It can crush your season. So,
make us lose to the Cardinals.
I want to see.
Or make you get blown out to the Bucks.
Hopefully, we'll beat the Giants. I just want to see the Bills one more week before I start hitting the panic button a little bit that maybe they're not as good as we thought.
Yeah, it's true. I want to see. I'm really going to be paying attention closely to Josh Allen in the next few weeks because the last 3 games he statistically has kind of fallen off of a cliff compared to where he started, and I don't think that. I hope it's not a trend, and so I want to see a few more games because if it is a trend and he, comes back down to earth a little bit from his MVP form, just being good, that defense is not as good as it was last year. If Tua, if he starts balling, we might have a Dolphin division winner.
Love it.
But that's getting ahead of myself quite a bit. But
I want to point this out real quick. The Jets, they hand off the play calling. They scored 10 points, 10 to 18. So
but it's better than before.
The Bills, who I know, my boy, fantasy team, John Brown has been absent for 3 weeks where he has actually been active for some of those games and not playing really at all or playing and not playing well, and that is big because if he gets cooking like he did in those first 2 weeks, Diggs really starts to cook even more, and it really opens up that offense. And they got to figure
You
out their
just
run
want
game.
fantasy points.
I always want fantasy
He's
points.
not wrong, though. He's
But
not wrong.
but their run game, whether it's Zach Moss, Singletary, they're trying, I think, too hard to be a committee, and it's like, all right, let's just put the one it on someone's back here and let them really use their talent, because I think they're trying way too hard to rotate guys in, and they're not getting consistency, which is brutal, I think, for the Bills.
Just wait until the Bills play the Seahawks. They'll go right back to normal, and everything will be okay.
Yeah,
Josh Allen is going to
well,
go
we
back.
know it'll be close. Every Seahawks game is.
It's going to be close, but Josh Allen's going to look like an MVP again.
Yeah.
Nick, what's your surprise?
Yeah, so mine's a team that we all thought going into the year was going to be good, but I don't think we thought it was going to be this good, and it's the Steelers. I mean, that Tennessee game was incredible, but I thought
keep going.
I thought they could win 4 games. Like I think they could start 4-2, 6-0. Granted, they haven't had the toughest schedule. I think is pretty impressive. Big win against the Titans, even though that game should have gone to overtime, just a missed kick, and they almost handed away a game right there. I still don't trust the Steelers in the playoffs, because I've seen Big Ben not do things in the playoffs for the last decade, since his last Super Bowl appearance. But I do need to give credit where it's due. They're 6-0. They're a really good team. Their defense is awesome, and Chase Claypool. I shouldn't have let him go in fantasy after week 2. I knew he was going to be.
I picked him up
baller.
into a thing last week.
Deontay Johnson did come back and light it up. So
and James Conner has been really effective since week 1 when he got hurt. He's been really good. So it's a lot of people playing a little bit better than I anticipated, and that defense continuing to be dominant. And yeah, they're a good team for sure.
Kyle, you have something you want to add there?
Well,
like you were gearing up.
I said a rant earlier, but it's not really a rant. I just was always confused why people weren't buying into the Steelers. And I'm a guy I'm a Seahawks fan. I don't like the Steelers. They destroyed me in their first Super Bowl. But this team's good. Like, I think it is a playoff caliber team. I think Big Ben, it's not, Big Ben throwing deep downfield every time looking so explosive, but it's a Big Ben that's making the smart decisions, and he has pretty darn good weapons. I mean, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, who's not even, used all that much, but he's still a playmaker. I just feel like all around this team is really good, and they just have a really solid roster that can get them into the playoffs. I actually think that there is a big chance for them to get into the Super Bowl as well, but I always was confused, like the first 4 weeks, why people didn't really buy into them all that much. And I think this win over the Titans, while the Titans did make a heck of a comeback, and we should give them respect for that as well, I think the Steelers rightfully deserve this win, and I give them big props. They look really good to me. I'd be terrified to play against them, especially that defense. Man, TJ Watt is a good player. But I don't know. I just, early on in the weeks, I just thought that people were kind of sleeping on them a bit too much. Should have made them as like an underrated thing. Darn it. But I don't know. I just was always confused by why people weren't buying into them all that much. It just reminded me of that.
I've always bought into them as a playoff team. I am a little nervous still a little bit as them as a Super Bowl team, just because there was too many years where I thought they had the most talent, and then they lose to Blake Bortles. And so that's probably just me. It's probably just me being a little bit biased of they, I think between 2015, 2014, and 2017, I thought they were the best team in the AFC, and they made no noise. That's why I'm a little nervous. Them as a Super Bowl contender. I still would put them, even if they win this weekend, maybe things will change against the Ravens, but I'd still put them a tick behind the Chiefs and the Ravens. But I think them, and I think the Titans, I do think they're real, and I definitely think they could upset one of those two teams in the playoffs for sure. And that was a great game.
It was.
Sure. Yeah. My surprise ended here is a surprise because I can't even believe I'm about to give some props out. But my surprise is
what could this be?
Tom Brady. because I have been critical of him the last year. Last year, I was very critical of him because he looked like he was starting to get the old Peyton Manning water weenie there, because Peyton Manning went from 55 touchdowns to couldn't throw a duck to save his life. And I watched that game. He is not what he used to be. I don't think the stats fully show that with his athleticism. But overall, he is still pretty dang good, and he was making money moves and money throws. He had a couple of bad misses, but again, he's not the same. He is a little older. He's 42 or whatever, but 43. But and I've been critical of him in the past. I loved him for a while. Met a Patriots fan who made me hate him, and then came back. And now I'm gonna give him a little props because he's balling. And I always wanted to wait. Is it this elite receiving core? The reason that he did it is going to be good. And watching the game, there is obviously some of that, but a lot of it is Brady and him making the right moves at the right time, not just dumps or a guy taking it, a 10-yard throw goes 50 yards to the house. So he's been balling.
He has a ton of big-time throws. He's in the top 5 in big-time throws this year, right up there with Russell Wilson and then Aaron Rodgers. I thought actually, he has more big-time throws, I'm pretty sure, according to PFF, than Aaron Rodgers does, but he has played one more game. But I thought this team I thought they were one of the best teams in the NFC going into the year, so I'm not super surprised about it because I had them playing the Packers in the NFC Championship game.
Alex,
and I had the Packers
to a Star Wars video
I know.
cassette cover. You mean to point to the Eagles thing?
No.
Oh,
no,
I'm
I
confused.
did that on purpose. You stopped Nick, though, which isn't
sorry, Nick.
Anyways.
You're off the show, Kyle.
But I think a thing that I'm surprised about the Bucs isn't just it's not just Tom Brady, but it's so many people doubted Gronk. Gronk's been so good the last 2 weeks. He's not the number one option, but I think people overreacted to him not playing for a year of football when he's probably the greatest tight end who's ever played the game. So
I do think
that's been really interesting.
Bruce has changed his offense a little bit when Howard got hurt, and I think he is trying to use Gronk more as what he was in New England, and why he's been balling the last 2 weeks. I do think that is a big part of it, and that Bruce's ability to adapt is really helping Brady.
Yeah, I think it was going to happen eventually. Like, even if OJ Howard's been so disappointing the last couple of years, that eventually they were going to realize we have an underwhelming tight end and we have a guy who's literally been the greatest we've ever seen do it. He might not be what he used to be, but he's still pretty darn good. And that's also why I'm incredibly scared about Antonio Brown playing with them, because I don't think he's going to lose that much, and the Bucs are so talented. Defense is better than I thought it would be. I thought it would be good, but not this good.
Yeah, I didn't realize how good that defense could become until Nick told it and give it to me straight, and it's even scarier than I realized. So
yeah, well, even
that team's loaded.
Yeah, we knew going into the season that they had a great front seven, but the biggest shock is James Dean. He's the guy who had the clean pick 6 on Aaron Rodgers. He is, I think, the second highest graded cornerback on PFF. He is looking like a shutdown cornerback. He's elite right now. And that's a big reason why this secondary and defense has turned from what was like a good defense to a great defense, I think. That guy's been balling out, and which is scary for not just the NFC, but I think for the entire NFL.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the name of the guy that you're talking about.
Let me see. I think his last name's. I'll find it real quick.
Okay. Brady looks better than he was last year anyway with the Patriots. We thought his arm was done for. It turns out he's been saving it so that way he can go get better weapons and a better offense.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yep. Man, yeah, that Bucs team is just going to be crazy scary. I do not.
So I got to give Brady some props. It's a surprise because I'm still mad at you for being a completely unsportsmanlike D-bag to Nick Foles.
So that's his kryptonite.
It's not James Dean's. It's Jamel Dean.
Okay.
Okay.
and he's elite. Second-year guy.
Well, you heard it here first on the Get Back Guys. For us, Kyle, Nick, Al, we are out of here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Remember to check us out at all the links, all that good stuff. And, yeah, Fly Eagles Fly. We'll see you next time.
Laters.
See ya.